There's a certain kind of person who disappears for a while without explaining why. Not because they're angry, not because they don't care, but because silence feels like recovery. They eat alone comfortably, take long walks with their thoughts, replay conversations long after they end, and somehow people often misunderstand them for it. Too quiet, too distant, always overthinking. But what if these behaviors aren't flaws at all? What if they're signs of a mind that processes life more deeply than most people realize? If you do these six things alone, your intelligence may be rarer than you think. Not the loud kind of intelligence people usually celebrate, something quieter, more internal, more psychological. The first is talking to yourself, not dramatically, just thinking out loud while driving, cooking, or pacing around your room. Research shows that internal speech can improve emotional regulation and organize complex thoughts. In real life, it often means someone is trying to understand their emotions before reacting impulsively. A lot of deeply reflective people learned early that they had to process things on their own. The second is needing silence, not just less noise, actual silence. Some nervous systems absorb more information than others, tone of voice, tension, subtle shifts in energy. So, after enough stimulation, silence stops being a preference and becomes a reset. Ironically, people who need quiet the most usually have the busiest minds. The third is replaying interactions afterward. Most people call it overthinking, but psychology suggests it can also be advanced social processing. Some people naturally analyze meaning, contradiction, emotional tone, and hidden intent more deeply than others, especially people who grew up in unpredictable emotional environments. Their brains learn to scan carefully, to notice what others miss. The fourth is learning things privately, researching random topics late at night, falling into deep curiosity with no audience attached, not for validation, not for attention, just because understanding something feels satisfying. That kind of curiosity is more rare than it seems. The fifth is creating imaginary conversations, mentally preparing for future situations, rehearsing what you might say, thinking through possible outcomes before they happen. For some people, this became a way to feel emotionally prepared in a world that once felt unpredictable. And yes, it can become exhausting, but it also creates empathy because people who mentally simulate conversations often think deeply about how others feel. And the sixth is disappearing to process emotions alone. Not everyone heals this way. Some people need connection immediately, but others need solitude first. Not to push people away, just to understand what they are feeling before they speak, especially if they spent years feeling misunderstood. None of this makes someone better than anyone else. Different minds regulate differently. Some people process externally, others process internally. Both are valid, but many intelligent people spend years mislabeling themselves. They call themselves cold when they're overwhelmed, distant when they're overstimulated, broken when they simply feel things deeply and quietly. But intelligence doesn't always look confident or social. Sometimes it looks like silence, observation, withdrawal before clarity. Sometimes it looks like someone sitting alone, trying to understand life deeply enough not to lose themselves inside it. And if that feels familiar, there's a good chance you've misunderstood parts of yourself for a very long time.